The transparency, the openness, the communication is more than you could expect. I'm sold.
Don't let the fact that you don't know something or don't know enough about something hold you back.
I knew I wanted to invest. What better way to invest than to invest in what I already know that I love, which is real estate?
It was initially the 12% return, but it quickly turned into the people.
Well, we're excited today to have Larry Gustafson, a friend of the company. I just met you today, but I've seen your name for several years as you've been an investor with us. And we've learned a bit more about you over the past few years and wanted to have you come on our podcast. And you have a really interesting story that we want to get into. But you were just talking about how, you've done a lot throughout your life and you're kind of at the phase where you're in the sharing mode. Tell us a little bit more about that as we kick this off, kind of where you're at in life and why you wanted to come on the podcast with us today, which we appreciate.
All right. Thank you. My journey has been in real estate and investing, all the way back, but real estate about the last 35 years. And now I've been blessed, in some wonderful properties that I've purchased, some people that I've met along the way. But now I'm kind of at that point in my life where, like we were talking earlier, is that I'm still going to be doing more because it's fun and it works. But I'm at a point now where I would like this to share my journey, that this can be done. You don't have to have a lot of money to do this. If you surround yourself with the right people, you just almost can't not win in this marketplace. Like we talked earlier, I've done 67 properties in my life. No losers, ever.
It's a good track record.
I had one that was close, but I made $100 on it. But we talked about a person that needed some help, and he did the job, and that got him back on his feet. So that was a winner, even though it was only $100. It was still a winner property. But I'd like to, because I'm looking at my family and what do I do with these assets now, and how do I transition these? So it's another level to the investing is now how do I transition this to other people? Right?
And that's it's a good problem to have,
Yeah.
to started from where you started and built something, and now you're at that stage where you're not only transitioning assets, but also trying to transition knowledge and experience and what you've learned. And so we're excited to have you come on and learn a bit more about some of your war story, so to speak, and what you've figured out, because the financial game is not necessarily easy. We're lucky to live where we live because we have these opportunities that few people in the world have. So that's where we start with. But at the same time, things are changing. New people who are coming in have different challenges than we used to have, and then there's some challenges that are always the same. So
Right.
just kind of want to start off. You mentioned you started off with about $500 in your pocket, where this journey began. Can you tell us about some of the early years and how you first got into real estate investing, and then also a little bit about what you did with your day job to get some income, because that's the only way you can become an investor is if you have some money to invest, right?
Have to have something. So my journey starts in my early 30s, okay? I got married when I was 32. I had started a business about 4 years prior in insurance. So that's my day job, is that I'm an insurance agent. So that started in 1988 and got married in 1993. Just at the point where the business was starting to take off, maybe about 3-4 months before I got married, I bought a house. Okay, first house that I bought. Couldn't qualify because I don't have income to show. I'm
Self-employed, yep.
Right? I've got zero income, and I've got the Social Security for things to prove it, and those were actual zeros. So I was making nothing. But I bought this house, got married, and just a funny story is that when I got married, my wife had a garage sale. We need new furniture and everything for the house. So everything that I owned, she sold in the garage sale for $96. It was like 32 years old, and I'm worth $96. But then business starts taking off. Things don't work out, and I get divorced in 95. Okay. So I bought the house in 93, 95. I'm buying it back. So I bought this house twice, and I was left with $500. So I'm 35 years old, $500, an empty house that I've purchased twice. So that's where it all started.
Yeah.
Okay. So everything that's been done is really from that point. So I just made a point of saving at least half of anything that came in. I would put that off on the side, and I used that money to pay off the house. Because when I purchased the house, I assumed FHA that was 8.5%, 9%, something like that. So it was a $40,000 loan. The payment was $800. Right, so we talk about payments now, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. I get it. In 1993, $800, and you're working, not making anything. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
So I paid that house off, and that was the start of my real estate investing. Once I got that house free and clear, right? Now that opened up, business is starting to take off, right? I'm making more money, and I don't have a house payment, okay? So I took that money that I'd be making the house payment and put that off on the side. About 3 years later, the people next door to me were moving. They're going to build a house down in Patagonia. Hey, you want to buy it? And I bought it and turned that into a rental. And from there, now I don't have a house payment that I'm putting money off on the side. I've got rental income coming from this property. And it took me, I borrowed some money on a credit line, and it took me about 2 years to pay that off, okay? And then I bought another one. Well, now I've got 2 cash flows and a house with no payment going off into an account. And it turned out that on average, I was buying a house about every 2.5 years.
On those houses, did you get, you mentioned the first one, you got a credit line and you paid it off in a couple of years.
My target was to pay it off in 2 years.
Yep. And did you do that, or did you keep some debt on those properties?
Paid them off.
Just paid them off.
So right now, debt free.
Yeah.
Well, 24,000.
Yeah.
Because I just bought one a couple months ago. Still 24
with
left
a
on
credit
it.
line, or how do
I
you?
just use a credit line.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not great interest, but it was a brand new credit line, so I'm using the introductory.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you don't have all the fees associated with mortgages and
free.
brokers and.
All I had to do was fill out forms. They charge you nothing.
So I want to go dig in a little bit. When you said you spent about half of what you made, how do you do that? You know, if somebody were to say, I'm spending every dollar of what I make. How did you do that, and how would you advise somebody who's struggling to put money away today?
A lot of this has to do with the way that I was brought up. So I grew up in a suburb of Chicago, and my father was a carpenter. My mom stayed home, took care of us kids. So the only income was coming from my father, and it wasn't much. But he was working for a contractor that was going belly up, and this contractor, he had 3 carpenters, my dad, one of them, gave each of these guys a lot, right? Hey, I'm going to get this out of here before I declare bankruptcy, so it goes to somebody. So gave my father a lot in this suburb that we didn't belong in. And he built the house. I still remember his mortgage was $5,000. That was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? $5,000. And no paperwork, by the way. The next door neighbor was the president of the bank. Came by one day, hey, do you need some money? And next thing you know, $5,000 is in his account. And then he comes back 4 or 5 years later and says, hey, we're selling the bank, and I don't have any paperwork on you. But my father lived within his means. And so we didn't have vacations. We had one car that he used. So I grew up in an environment where it wasn't, I need everything. And so I've taken that from my father. So the house that I bought in 1993, I still live in that house. Very first house that I bought out of 67, I've only lived in one. So I kept my life simple. It's easy for me because that's the way that I was brought up. I have a 1998 Honda Accord that I still drive, a 2003 truck that I still drive. That's type of spending doesn't do it for me. So when I say 50%, okay, so 50% goes off on the side, it would end up being more than that, right? Because I didn't have those bills or those desires to go out and travel the world. And
Has that ever been tested for you, either with you had a time where you wanted to go spend some money on something and it was a hard decision, or some relationship in your life that said, hey, we need to start spending some more money, or because I think that's where a lot of the stress comes in for some people is
Right.
maybe they get married and their spouse, they see money different, or they get real excited about traveling or buying something. How do you maintain that, and has it been challenged a few times in your life?
It definitely. And when I first started having any sort of income, when I talked about I took the rental income, I made a payment, I had a specific account. To this very day, I have like 30 bank accounts, and
Yeah.
they all mean something.
Yeah.
Right? They're all for something. So I've done that, and that one account was, okay, that's going back into buying other properties.
Yeah.
Right? This income over here is for kids' colleges. This is for specifically for those things. So that really helped me divide that line. But you're right, is that that's been tested many a time. And I'm getting better at just discussing it with somebody, because I know that I wouldn't do it. That's just me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just going to, whatever. So that's part of this transition is, now it's time to share this stuff. Right? I'm not going to go cruise the world, but other people can. My kids can, or my grandkids. So I'm spending money, but I'm spending it on people instead of cars and things like that. I mean, I need to drive around, don't get me wrong.
There's cost
right?
to life.
And I
yeah.
like to have air conditioning and things like that. So I'm not, but you wouldn't know where I live. I am dressed up.
Yeah,
I'm
you got
dressed up
fancy today.
But that's just the way I grew up, and luckily my kids see that. And so now we've got some grandchildren, and I've built something here that can be generational, that doesn't have to stop with me. It can go to them, it can go to their grandkids, to my grandkids, the great grandkids. This could go on forever. Done
Yeah,
right.
if it's done right.
Yeah, if it's done right.
And did you have an aspiration when you started this that you wanted to pass money to your kids, or that you wanted to build wealth, or did it just kind of happen organically? How would you describe how you got here?
Yeah, definitely organically, because did I buy that second house, even the first house, saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do, right? Like, did Elon Musk wake up and say, I'm going to go to Mars? He probably had some bumps along the road that pushed him in that direction. So this wasn't really a thought that I was doing this, because it's really, at this point now, it's a business for me. This is a business as opposed to just a casual investor. But the casual investing got me to the point where now this can be a business. Hey, this is something, and I'd like to pass any business, or at least the concepts of that business to somebody else. So I never thought until maybe 10 years ago that, gosh, there's something here that has grown, and concepts and things. So I've got, my kids, hey, we were looking at this property here and there. And so they're starting to ask, right? And that's going to start happening, because the cash flow now is way more than I'll ever spend.
And so how do you bought those first couple properties, and then what's been your approach to properties? You try to keep the debt short term, pay it off as soon as you can, collect the rent. Obviously, you're going to have expenses with maintenance, with tenants who don't stay there, and you've rented all of them, like, to long-term tenants.
Yeah.
So kind of tell me what each of these, if you looked at one of the properties, kind of what that business looks like and how you run it.
This question got posed to me yesterday in a different context, but it was essentially the same decision-making process. So if I go see a property, what am I looking for, right? What is that ideal property? And what I've ended up investing in is single-family resident, three bed. I have one two bed, but that's what it's turned out to be. Now, it's been very, very good. I try to keep pools out of the mix. In a rental situation, I've got one property with a pool, but it's kind of a family house kind of thing. It's a gut. If I see a property or walk into a property, there's just something in me that says, this is worth taking that next step. I can't say that there's anything specifically, because I bought some houses that are just absolutely dilapidated, and I bought houses that are like move-in ready. It just, there's something that property tells me, kind of weird, but like a
will work.
spiritual thing, like that. Hey, this is worth taking that next step.
And then so you're not afraid to go buy a house that needs some work, and
Doesn't matter.
you do the work yourself, or you have a team that you trust that goes in.
Most of the work I do myself, right? I try to keep it limited to things that I can do myself. But now, getting older, there's more things that I'll farm out. I don't do air conditioning, roofs I don't do anymore. But I did as much as I could, because that's sweat equity. You start paying a bunch of people to do this work for you, where's your cash flow going? When it's going to somebody else.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about cash flows, is that it's been doing this for, I don't know, 30 years plus. Ask me how much money I've spent of rental income.
So how much money of your rental income have you spent?
None. I mean, I've used rental income to buy other properties, to maintain properties. I have personally not spent a penny of it.
So it is literally and figuratively in a separate and own its account, and you're not touching it.
I haven't touched it. I have not taken one penny out for myself or for my family or anybody. It's all gone back into this business. And now it's just like, this is going to sound, it's just like oozing out.
You
right?
You have to do something with it.
I have to do something with it now.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's part of why we talked to you, because we have a lot of folks similar to yourself that have gone through the process of owning homes and rentals, and it's wonderful in so many ways, but it is a lot of work, and it's a business.
It's a business.
And it's always there. And so at some point, many people want it to just become passive, totally passive income.
Right.
Or pass it off to their kids is another way to have it passed off. But we have a lot of folks who've like real estate for that way, but they want to make that transition. And so you were able to live off of your primary income for your expenses.
Remember, I live a very simple life, so that didn't take much. So I was, on the spending side, I don't spend much money. I just don't. I've just always been like that.
Yeah.
And am I going to change tomorrow?
No.
It's not going to happen, right?
Did you get married again?
No.
So it was the one marriage.
One marriage.
So you have kids from that marriage.
It's a long story, but they're not my kids.
Okay.
Unofficial stepchildren.
Got it. Well,
like I said, that's another podcast.
Yeah, that's. So you were able to continue to roll. Now, when you sell let's talk about when you sell a building,
okay,
a property. Why do you sell it? What are you kind of looking at? Like, I probably want to get rid of that one.
Okay. So when I'm evaluating property, one of the criteria that I'm looking for is this a keeper or is this a seller? So, out of those 67 properties, I own 11. I've kept 11. Now, there's one that got away that I probably should have kept, but it is what it is. There's other properties where, hey, this is just worth more for me to come in, do my thing. It's got good bones. It's in a good neighborhood, those kind of things, and then sell it. So the majority of properties that I've owned, I've sold, like within 6 months, at the turn and burn. And that slows down a little bit as the market goes up, but it's still there. This can be done in any market. So what I have, these are my keepers. Right? These are the ones that cash flow wonderfully. They're in great neighborhoods, easy to rent, good rents. So these are the ones that have made that final cut. Did I know that they were going to be that final cut when I bought them? I can't say that I know that.
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know.
After you operate
But
it
it's
for
close.
a while, you figure it out.
Right, it's close, right? It's close. Worst case scenario is that I'm going to sell it and make money. That's my worst case. Now, if it's my best case is that, hey, it turns out better than I thought it was going to be, okay, I'll keep this one.
And one of the challenges for what you could call a home flipper, somebody who wants to do that, they go in and buy a property, they want to fix it up and sell it. Typically, they're getting debt on it.
Right.
And that puts a lot of pressure on them to get the work done quickly and sell it quickly.
Right.
In your case, you didn't have that pressure. And also typically they're trying to time the market, and it's really hard to do that. So if they buy something, when the market's really strong and then the market slows down, they can be in a tough position on that property.
In a hurry.
Because of the debt.
In a hurry, right.
Where for you're doing, sounds like a lot of the work yourself. You're not putting a lot of debt on it. So you're able to avoid a lot of these problems. And one of the great things with real estate is if you can be patient, it tends to work itself out with real estate.
Never hasn't worked itself out. But you're right, because there would be situations where when we was doing a lot of flipping, you know a lot of people that are doing it. And I'm like, oh, God, I don't know how they sleep at night. They've got these huge notes. And if the thing sits on the market for 30 days or doesn't pass an inspection or something, man, you got another 30 days. And that's another $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah.
By the time you get the thing sold, was it worth it? I mean, you make money, but is it worth it? Is it worth making 15 grand and not sleeping for 5 months?
They say the difference between sleep well or eat well, potentially eat well, but you're not sleeping well, throughout the whole process.
But I'm just like this average guy. I know nothing about real estate.
But you know how to do the work.
Yeah. When I knew how to do some of the stuff, but now I can do pretty much anything because I've done it.
Yeah.
Just how do you do it? Well, do it.
Figure it out.
Yeah. Do it and you'll know how to do it. I mean, I hate to say that, and now we're so spoiled because no matter what happens, just YouTube it. Somebody's done it and they put a video up there, right?
When you see a property that needs work, what are some of the things you look at and say, okay, I'm happy to do that. That's kind of fun. And then what are the things you're like, I really don't want to do that?
AC and roofs.
Don't want to do.
I'll do anything else. Garage doors. I won't do a garage door. Afraid of that spring.
Yeah. What do you like to do?
I'll do anything else.
Drywall.
I'm doing a bathroom.
Kitchen cabinets, tile.
And anything else.
Yeah.
I'll do anything else. Doesn't matter. Landscaping, I'm not big on landscaping. But,
yeah. And that's a nice thing to have somebody do regularly. It just takes a lot of work off. Yeah.
And I try to, if I can buy a property with zero landscaping, like the house that I live in, there is nothing outside that house that has to be watered. Nothing. So no irrigation. Try to keep that simple. If you're buying houses with irrigation, you're going to spend a lot of time fixing that. You're going to spend money on bush trimming because no matter the tenant, it's landscaping's out of sight, out of mind. It's just going to go south on you. So if you can keep your landscaping as simple as possible, rock if available, few bushes. Texas sage is my favorite. Doesn't have to be watered.
Yeah.
It's going to live through anything.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'll do landscaping if it's necessary, but my houses are pretty much now landscape free.
Yeah.
Even trees. I look at when I'm buying a property, hey, if it's got 2 or 3 trees, that's great for shade, but they're going to cost you.
They're a mess.
$500 to $1,000 every couple of years for getting that thing trimmed and branches falling off. It's just try to keep it as bulletproof and as simple as possible, especially as a rental. If you're going to resell, hey, you want those trees because somebody's going to come and say, hey, that's great shade. They don't realize that at some point that tree's going to die and it's going to cost you $3,000 to have the thing removed, right? Big trees. So it's just kind of learning as you go, and that's why now if I can share those things, save somebody a couple steps that I had to learn because I was doing this like it wasn't a plan. It was just all of a sudden I was doing it.
Learn as you go.
Right. And being self-employed, you can't, 401ks and things like that, which is another story of why I invest in real estate, but you can't, with top-heavy rules and all kinds of stuff, you can't put much self-employed, into a 401k.
Right.
And me personally, whatever I've put into the stock market has turned to nothing.
Yeah,
pretty much.
That can happen. It can happen quickly.
But this has now become like my 401k. This is my pension plan, but it's done so well over this time period. As I started buying more, I was making projections. Okay, so this is the amount of cash that I'm going to need on a monthly basis when I turn 60. I'm 63 now, and then I could live on that.
Yeah.
Right. If the world came tumbling down, I didn't have a job, whatever the case might be, I couldn't work. This is what I could live on. And those projections were so low.
Yeah. You've
It's just so far exceeded it. And I've kept my rents because I've got great renters. So I've kept my rents a little below market.
yeah.
And I am active in my properties. So I'm there, probably at least once a month to each one of them.
Yeah.
And I'll have a list of things to do. So I'll use that as an excuse to go in and put my eyes on the property. And some of my renters at this point don't know that I own the property. They just think I'm the guy who comes and fixes the toilet when it explodes, right? They don't know that I'm the owner.
Well,
eventually, as
you're driving a '98 Honda Civic, so they
don't
wouldn't think
know.
so.
An 03 truck, I'm just the dirtbag that comes and fixes the toilet. But I get to put my eyes on the property. And I think that has a lot to do with why I've never really had a bad tenant. I get paid.
Yep.
I go to these properties and they're not expecting the owner to show up, and I am the owner, but the properties are in good shape. They take care of them because I'm there a lot.
Yep.
Right. And hey, the owner put in for new drapes or something like that, or new window blinds. And so then I'll replace stuff as we go. Like this bathroom didn't need to be done, but this was one of those where, hey, I know this should be done before it gets too out of control.
Just
so
go ahead
just
and do it.
schedule with them. And they got a new bathroom.
Yeah.
And they don't know I own the place.
And
I'm just the guy coming and fixing it.
and of course, to surprise them in that way, that is not normal for a renter to that sort of experience.
But it's
living
my
there.
asset at
That's
the
right.
end of the day, and I want that
That's
to go
right.
another 20, 30, 40 years. So just remember, that money is going off into that account.
Yep.
So my repair budget is 100% of all the rent that comes in.
Yep.
Except if I'm buying a new property, it'll build up. Okay, now it's time to buy another one.
How do you do leasing? Do you do that yourself, or do you have somebody help you with that?
Yeah, when I started, I was doing it myself. Then I moved to a property manager, and then she retired to a different property manager. And now, with 11 properties, I'm doing it myself at this point. There's enough. I've got a couple employees on the insurance side, so I've got one of them that essentially became the property manager. He's got real estate background and property management background.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it myself. Property management has gotten a little pricey depending on where you go, with admin fees and stuff like that. Once again, trying to keep my rent reasonable. I've got great renters, and I don't want to kill these people. I know there's a couple families that if I raise my rent to what it should be, I don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
I just don't know where they're going to go. So, like with the property management, I took it back about 6 months ago, and that's going to stop me from having to raise rents, at least for the next 12 months. So I had to change, where they're paying rents and things like that. But once again, that other person is taking care of it. They still don't know I own the place. Most of them do now, just because they've been around long enough. And they could just go look, just go look up the property and they'll see my name.
Find it out. What was your experience with your 401k, and why would you tell somebody younger that isn't the answer to all their problems?
Oh, man, that's an awful story. But what my history has been with 401k, your option most people are going to do is going to be stocks. Right? It's going to be in the stock market. And we were talking a little bit earlier is that, in the stock market, I'm the last guy. I am the absolute last guy on the totem pole. So if something comes out, a hot stock, whatever the case may be, I'm the last one to hear about anything that's happening on that stock. And the big guys have already been in there, made their money, and now I'm bringing my money to give them their profit.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's been my history over 40 years. I have some money in a brokerage account. It's positive, nowhere near what it should be. If I had dumped the money in the S&P, right?
Would have been better.
It's way below that.
Yeah.
And it's actively managed, and it's, all these bells and whistles, and I'm the last guy on the I just have a little bit of money, but my opportunity cost of having it in there, when I put this money in for the third time, I had enough to buy 3 properties. Now, with inflation, everything that's happened in these last 4 years, I probably have enough money to buy 2 properties. So there's an opportunity cost. I've lost another property. Those 3 properties would have cash flowed me way more than I've made in stocks and bonds. And I've also had cash flow.
Along the way.
Oops.
and a fixed asset that you
Oops.
understand
And by the
is
way,
there.
there's a check every month,
Yeah.
right?
Out of college, I worked on Wall Street,
Okay.
and I had no idea that when a stock does an IPO, when a company does an IPO, that the shares are actually sold to the major large funds
Yeah.
before they're sold to the public in the IPO. They're already priced out, the companies, and I was part of the team that would take a company to a big firm, Fidelity, BlackRock. Hey, this company's going public, and they would have all the time to spend with them, understanding the company, taking the CEO to dinner. Do I want to, put $1 billion into this IPO? And then they decide what they will do, and they will get that initial IPO price. It's called $10. And then when the IPO jumps 50% on the first day,
Out
they've
they go.
made 50%.
Right. Out
And the
door
rest
they
of
go.
us are like, oh, let's buy it. It is, I'm not going to say that it's a rigged system. It is what it is. And
Right.
you said it best. We are the last people as retail investors along the food chain, and you're always trying to outsmart some quantum fund, some computer, or some genius, the PhD from Princeton, that I'm going to buy this stock even though this guy wants to sell it, and I'm going to make money. And that's what I ended up finding in my about 5 years on Wall Street is I did not want to put my money there for the same reason.
Right.
I would rather put my money in an asset that I understand that I can add value to.
I can feel in touch.
I can touch it.
I can
can
live
see
in
it.
if I
can
have to.
collect a check.
Right.
And that's not to say that we can't put some money in the market. And to your point, I like an ETF. I like something
Yeah.
that's pretty.
Keep
but
it as simple as you can.
Keep it simple, and then have your fun with real estate.
Yeah. And another thing is this diversification. So brokerage account maybe 15% of the total pie. Well, now he's diversifying even further. So I'm so diversified. I'm just diversifying myself out of any type of reasonable return.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
like the S&P now. I mean, the S&P is what, 80% tech or something. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just kind of in one spot. But when I was a finance major in college, and we talked about, and you might have heard of this, it's called the odd lot indicator, okay? So which way is the market going to go? And there's leading indicators, lagging indicators. The one odd lot indicator applies to anything. I mean, it was used in the stocks and bonds kind of area. So when the ticker's going across, you see 50 or 500 or 1,000. Well, those are the big guys.
Yeah.
And they're buying even lots. So they say, I want 5,000 shares or 1 million shares. The average guy has got $1,000. And so give me as many shares as that 1,000 will buy. So it is, it might be 62 shares or 40. So an odd lot,
Yeah.
right? So the odd lot indicator is you just do the opposite of what the odd lots are doing, which means that in stocks, generally, as odd lots are buying, we're probably closer near the top.
Yeah.
And when odd lots are selling, we're closer near to the bottom.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. And it works in everything. Like anything in life, the odd lots are out, and it works perfectly in real estate too.
Yeah.
When everybody's buying like crazy, I'm pulling
Slow
back,
down. Yeah.
right? We're got to be close. And then this is going to sound bad, but has to be somebody, and be that person that comes in when people are having a tough time.
Right.
Somebody's got to take that property and bring it back. Otherwise, our neighborhoods are in ruin, right? So that's,
Yeah.
in
Somebody has
some
to
ways,
come in.
I'm that person
Yeah.
that, okay, you're on hard times, I get it. Here's a way out.
Yeah.
Right? Here's a way to bring that property back. Here's a way for you to get your life back on. It just is what it is. I can't change the fact that this is happening to you, but I can give you a way out.
So my last question, this has been really insightful, but also fun just talking to you, getting to know you better. Last question is, if you're talking to somebody just coming out of school, they've finished a degree, they're starting their career, starting to think about what it means to be an adult and put money away and try to build a career and also build a life and a savings. What advice would you give them, if they're coming out, whether that's something that you've learned that you would do different, or just general advice in today's world?
I'm going to use our government for an example here. Is most of the challenges that I've had haven't been a revenue problem. It's been a spending problem. So if I can say anything, try to keep things as simple as possible. Only buy what you can afford. I'll use credit lines and things, but I know I can afford that.
Yep.
I can pay $24,000 off. I can do that. And when I was buying the properties early, okay, all that money went off to the side to do that specifically. If I wanted to go on a vacation, I would not use that money. That came from other money. So you have to watch the spending side. And I think most people today, that's their problem. It's just too much debt, too much going on, that you're never going to feel comfortable. Gosh, I just don't have the money. Well, virtually every property that I've bought, I didn't have the money, right? Because I had to use credit lines, but I had a way of paying it.
Yep.
Right? No matter what, that those are going to cash flow me. I might miss a month here and there, but I had enough off on the side that I wasn't going to touch. It's a discipline of not being able to touch that money, even though you can. And I talked to plenty, real estate investors that all the money's gone. And if that works, it doesn't work for me, and it hasn't. But if you can just watch that spending side, there's so many things. Probably about a year ago, I just stopped and started looking at what I was spending money on, because it's easy to it starts happening,
Yep.
right? And just all of a sudden it's $500 a month, and then it's $1,000 a month. So I'm just looking at goofy stuff like my cell phone and my television and all these weird little things, and I came up with $1,000 a month. And I don't do much to begin with. And I came up with $1,000 a month that was just a couple phone calls, and I've got $1,000 extra a month.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
And I haven't noticed it.
I'm thinking if you can cut
If I
$1,000,
can
you
cut a
already
grand,
started.
Right? If I can cut $1,000, and it's just
Oh yeah.
like, why?
It's
It's a slow burn.
yeah.
It just all of a sudden your
Absolutely.
cable bill was $80 and now it's $300, and you're watching an hour of television a day. That was an easy one.
And I think the reason why a lot of people don't do this is it's not that fun. They just want to keep having fun. But it's hard to do that. But I think you can make it fun. And the way you described it is kind of fun. Like, hey, let's see if we can cut $500 off. That's fun.
It was actually like, God, I can't believe that was $1,000. And, because I had other things. I said, I know I can find $1,000 to help. This was with my daughter, to help her with her nanny, right? Because she's working 2 jobs, just a couple of hours a day, a week. And it's not going to cost me anything. And I found that $1,000 in what I was doing.
Yeah.
And boom, I was like, man, that's neat. I should do that every year. Because it's just weird stuff. This like I had a Babbel account or something as of, just weird stuff that was still sitting there charging away.
And good companies do what's called zero-based budgeting. They start every year with we're going to start at zero and see what we're going to spend.
Right.
And that philosophy is just good hygiene for businesses that would do zero-based budgeting. They always spend less than companies that don't do that. Right. And it's the same idea, is taking a reset button. Maybe you don't have to do it every month, but maybe at least once a year, just say, where are we spending our money? Let's start at the bottom. Hey, we can pull this out. We can pull this out. Where can we put this money? And a lot of people find it helpful to have a goal of, hey, let's start putting $500 or $1,000 into this account to invest or to buy a rental property. You've done that along the way as well. And having the different bank accounts makes it real simple. Right. You just go to that account and say, okay, we needed $10,000 or we needed $50,000 and we have this. But I think what you've been really good at as we've had this time together is having fun with it along the way. Now you sit at a place where you've made good decisions. Now you have some really fun decisions to make. You can help your daughter out. You've put yourself in that place.
I haven't made all perfect decisions.
Yeah.
I've lost a lot of money in my life doing different things, but real estate, I've never lost any money. Yeah. And that's where it came to. Another thing, if you're investing in real estate, treat that like your 401k. Yeah. Okay, so your 401k, you can't take money out without penalty until 59 and a half. So if you're 35 years old, I haven't taken I've treated it like that I can't take this money, and I'm letting it grow and letting it do its thing. And now I should probably take some.
Well, they call those forced distributions.
At
So,
some point,
so
at
you're
some
gonna
point,
have to do that.
but I don't have to do that on real estate. I don't have to do mandatory distribution.
I don't want you to come here in 2 years and be wearing Gucci and these brand new Escalade. I'm going to be
Come
disappointed.
on, I got a new T-shirt.
I'm not worried. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I loved your insights, getting to know you better. I know our listeners as well are going to benefit a lot from this. So looking forward to sending this out to them and seeing what you do over the next few years. Stay in touch with you, and maybe we do this again in a few years and see where we're at. So
Sounds good.
all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, The Multifamily Masterclass. Please subscribe to get all of our new episodes.